y'all doing? Back in another episode of the It Factor Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jeremy Robinson, and today we have someone special. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, Jeremy. I'm Adrianne Ross, stylist, former WNBA collegiate player, and just happy to be here.
Yes, indeed. So with that, how are you doing mentally, physically, and emotionally?
I'll have to break those up. Mentally, I am very, very present with my thoughts, with as much as going on in the world right now. So much, like I'm grateful to have that. I think that's what's been keeping me most grounded. But I feel a lot of gratitude, and I pair that with just emotionally, physically. I'm on my third week of continuous yoga. I'm a new beginner, so I'm feeling like I'm stretching my body, new limits, doing something that I can just feel it off the court, not so much, just different. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm feeling good.
Got you. I like that. I'll also say, so what went into your choice of choosing TCU for your collegiate and basketball endeavors?
I'll have to say, like, shout out to TCU, by the way. I committed to them and ended up going there in 2003, so that's 20 years ago. Anyone that likes to do math. And with that being said, it's just like I'm so proud with that decision. It wasn't one that I just grew up knowing that's where I was going to go.
Mhm.
I come from a small town. I was highly recruited, coming out of high school. I was ranked the number 3 point guard in the nation, by Adidas, and I was an All-American. And, but because I grew up as a big fish in a small pond, like in Hobbs, New Mexico, I wasn't really attached to the political side of things. I just wanted to go somewhere and be happy. I was always around like a genuine energy, genuine support, like a lot of the things and experiences that I've had to this day, are as given insight to a community. We weren't coming from, so much. So when I was choosing to go to TCU, I needed to feel that, I wanted that genuine energy. Even though it was doing big things and on the brink of doing bigger things, I was very excited about like going somewhere that I could add an immediate impact, play when those books, when those history books come. I'm just not another name in them. I've really made an impact. I thought that was just a good opportunity. I think that the coaching staff, Coach Mitty and Coach Tidwell, 2 people that I'm just still, hold just a lot of value in those relationships to this day. They knew that and they saw it in me on those home visits and stuff. So when I went to go visit their school, they sold that family like atmosphere, and and it held true. We were doing big things, but at the time I went there was like a little bit under 8,000 students at the time, and that was my comfort zone. Aside from that, my family, I have a huge family in Dallas, and that's about 30 minutes from TCU at the time. So I got to play in front of family that I didn't grow up seeing me play. I loved that energy. I'm big on family. I liked the color purple, little things like that. It really does come down, but at the end of the day too, like it wasn't like I knew I was going there. Those was one of those schools that I just kept close, just because I couldn't even say no, and actually I had committed to Baylor prior, to going there. And that wasn't an easy decommit to choose to go to TCU,
Right.
And I picked up the phone to call TCU to tell them that I'm not going. I couldn't do it, and kind of put the phone down and was like, Mom, I've worked so hard. They're going to let me go on a private jet. It's so cool. I wanted to just let me go. I've worked so hard. I just want to go on the visit, and when you grow up humble, where you don't really have those experiences and stuff like that. I wasn't trying to trick her. I was just really wanting to go. I was excited about it, but I didn't intend on falling in love, and so it was just a spiritual decision. Like I felt like I was where I was supposed to be. And I still have no questions that that's exactly where I was supposed to be.
Got you. I mean, it had to be because even with me doing my research, and looking and seeing some of the records that you have broke and being put into the Hall of Fame, things of that nature, that's not by mistake. So that's amazing that you was able to go do that. I will also say in that. So what is your it factor? Why do you do what you do?
My it factor, I would have to say it's just me. I'm myself, I'm myself. And and being that people can connect to that, to someone being their self. And I think that even to do what I've done at TCU, I was surrounded by teammates and coaches that knew me and knew and trusted my intentions and stuff. So even in those moments where I was, maybe necessarily needing those guardrails or that guidance, or, and just figuring it out. I had that grace and that support, So I think that like my it factor is knowing like, okay, I do have this talent. I can definitely hoop. There's no question about it, And then even on the team and stuff like that, I just had like this personality that would worked hard. You knew what you were going to get on that regard. I'm funny and witty and those things that you kind of need here and there, but also coached and raised. Like my mom did not play that, but I knew when to kind of get in that punchline or something just to kind of keep things light or bring people together. Like I mentioned, was from a community. So I think that my it factor is just it's me. Some people work and I'm grateful for it. Like I still like when I say it, I'm grateful for it, whatever it is, is that like I know sometimes people work for it and some people have it. I think my biggest it factor is that even though I have it, I still work for it and like don't take it for granted.
Gotcha. I like that. I like that. I even seen that when I reached out to you. I was just like, man, I gotta have her because in my search to try to get Natasha Cloud on, I was like, you know what? Let me see other women on here. And when I saw your
I
name, I was
I
like,
saw that.
definitely got to do this. I was like,
Yeah, and I appreciate
thank
that's what's up. I appreciate you seeing that, seeing me, the
you.
work that you're doing. Like it was not even a question. I'd even seen, even having knowing Tasha Cloud, I was like, yes, these are people, these are platforms. Like you're doing something that the game needs. That wasn't necessarily here when I was playing, but the fact that it is now, I'm like, I love this. Anytime I get an opportunity to kind of put my hand in the huddle with what someone else is doing, like I'm grateful. So I was like, you choose me,
Yes,
okay,
indeed. So
yeah.
with that leads to my next question then. Why is it so important, and I would say us to give the same energy that we give to male sports that we would give to basketball or women's sports all over? Why is that so important for us to give the same energy and to give the same support?
I think it's not just important. I think it's just fair and necessary,
Definitely.
for women. And, we have great momentum. The game has grown so much. There's so many pioneers that have come in and laid the groundwork for this, and then I've always had that feeling that it was bigger than basketball and more than that, So anytime that you can like pour into people that are doing something, one high level competitors, I think it's the game has grown and changed so much. I'm always asked, like, what do you think it'd be like if you were out there? I definitely think I'd still be a dog. But I definitely know like these players, they have different skills, they have different mentalities. I just got to support change. I'm big on it. I'm big on it, but then also too, I stand firm in like things that don't need a change, like those who came before us. So I think like anytime you have the opportunity to like to support, you should pour into that because why not? Like some people are like, oh, they're getting on the bandwagon. I'm like, it's not a bandwagon, it's a party. Like women's basketball is great. Like get over here and there's so much room and so much opportunity, And so I think the more that you pour in, it's just going to continue to grow. It's changing the world. We don't just play basketball, like there's so many different avenues and aspects from activism, from advocating for their communities, for representation, like we are out here like get behind, that's God's work, to get
Indeed.
behind.
Indeed.
It's just fun and it's happening, like anytime you want to put like good energy in it and things that even if you don't have any energy to put in it, then keep it to yourself, don't bring no bad energy, go over there with
Yeah.
that, like don't put any energy towards it because something magical and something great is happening, so I'm grateful for those who and so many who are like really putting like the right energy in it.
So with that, I would say, tell me about Style Studio 33 and all the great work that you're doing because it's amazing. I didn't even know these things. I was looking, I was like, why did she did? Okay, cool.
Yeah. It's so crazy. It's just like it's not a it's crazy because it's a vision that I had when I was 14 years old, and it kind of goes back to who I am, and before when I was playing professional basketball, like after TCU during those days, I had the experience obviously of playing with San Antonio Silver Stars, who are now the Las Vegas Aces, but I'm
Mhm.
having the opportunity to share the huddle with like Becky Hammond, Vicky Johnson, Ruth Riley, like, and I even coming in, I'm hyper aware, and I'm hyper grateful, and I don't care where my role is on the court. Still to this day, I never know where I'm going to sit in a game and watch it. I could be in the game, I could be front row, I could be in the nosebleed, I might be in the VIP, like whoever knows. I don't know where it's going to be, but with that mindset, like with that experience from having on the court, I was able to just be grateful and trust my purpose in wherever I'm at. And so, with that being said, like having that experience right out of college, and then going overseas and really getting to really connect and learn myself. You have a lot of alone time when you're overseas, and this is kind of it's going to pour back into Studio 33. So stick with me. But like in this experience, like from basketball, like going overseas, I would get so excited because I started to realize our privileges. Like you grow up as a young Black girl in the hood where your only privilege is that you're really good at basketball, and this is and it's gonna take you places. It's not the only one, but I know I don't basketball got me a lot of places, that I wouldn't have been able to without it, or especially if I wasn't good. And so when I went overseas, like I'm learning all these language barriers, I'm connecting and seeing different styles, I'm seeing different cultures, I'm really connecting. When I went to Poland initially, I didn't really like that I couldn't communicate with my teammates. I like to feel people, so in order to make my stay better and for me to connect more, I took Polish classes, and learned the survival language. I can translate to my American teammates and stuff. Like I really dove in. And it started pouring, into myself, and I'm seeing what God's doing with my life and my purpose. And so when I would come back in the summers, I'm now like, oh my gosh, you're playing pro, and I have all this quote unquote clout, but that's not what I seen it as. I just had this experience and I had a place to put it. I wanted to give camps. Growing up, I always wanted to go to camps. I grew up hour and a half from Texas Tech, but I never asked my mom to go to those camps because we couldn't afford to, and I would never even do that, but it was a dream. So for me to like go back and get this notoriety and get this experience from like working them when I was at TCU or just doing different things, I was able to do camps in my community, and I would always do them with the purpose. I don't usually feel driven to do anything unless there's like some good intention or some purpose behind it. So for me to just do a camp, it wasn't going to happen. But if a family needed someone needed this. I did one for a kid that needed surgery, because he was having a lot of seizures and stuff, and his parents would reach out. I did one for cancer, for another lady to help her just pay her rent. Whatever I could profit, I would give to those. And I really got attracted to like what basketball can do for me, what these gifts can do for me. Like I can really be a philanthropist, but a much different way. And so that's what I was doing, and giving opportunities to kids that looked like me that, come to these camps for $40, $20. If you can't pay, just DM me or just send me a private message. We won't even make that even a thing. When you check in, your name will already be on the list. Would you like to donate and sponsor a kid or shirts or balls, and things of this nature? And I had friends and resources that they didn't mind. They like to see the movement. And so I did that for about 8 years, did a lot of camps, and 150 kids coming out and t-shirts, and it's something that grew up until about 2018. And that's the last time I've done one. And unfortunately, and I was still active, but unfortunately that same year in 2018, that one was for my mother. Fortunately and unfortunately, we were able to do something so beautiful, but she was actually diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and we did a camp to bring the community together just to raise awareness and things of that nature. And I think that that's really kind of where it set in, where God was using me, and I was seeing how I could use my gifts and the impact, and how I seen like how it was also healing me, and it was also keeping me around love and keeping me around things of that nature. And so about 7 months into her battle and her diagnosis, she ended up transitioning, and so from the moment the doctor came into there and was just like, told us what it was, I started praying, because I'm like, there's no way. Me and I have an older brother and a younger sister, and we're 2 years apart. We're all, we're her girl, we're her kids. We call ourselves Tammy kids in the group chat, and I knew that there was a purpose. I was like, this woman is too important, she's too special. She's too great. She's so much love. I don't know how God's going to use this, but I know like I'm not going to lose myself. I know when people love something that deep or so much, like there's purpose in that pain. And I immediately started just planning and praying and seeing what he was trying to do. And I had not at the time I had a training company called A Train Basketball, and that's also in my bio. And
Mhm.
that was just something to do while I'm back home. I retired from playing. This is like these kids are growing, they're getting better, more are coming, but I'm not really realizing that. I'm more so caretaking and doing this, but I saw what he was doing, and I had to make the decision after she had passed. Do I stay in New Mexico and grow this company and continue to provide resources that were not previously available, experiences, innovative ideas, opportunities? Do I do this? This is New Mexico. This is my pride. I have it tattooed on me. Like, I have to do it. If not me, then who? All these thoughts were going through my mind. And then I had an opportunity to take a job, back in Fort Worth, where TCU is in the Dallas Fort Worth area, for corporate philanthropy,
Mhm.
which is bringing me to Studio 33, and I was like, whoa, this is actually immediate, like I didn't even put my resume out for this, and that's when I go to say, like, your energy really is your resume. People see how you bring things. I'm not knowing I'm doing like a job that's equipped for director of community relations for nonprofits. I'm not realizing like all that I have done athletically could be used to just simply getting rooms. I've already been in the rooms. I just walked in. I didn't have the who's who. It's never been who I know. It's always been who I am, and I've been confident in that. And but now even more so because it's just necessary to know and own it. But um, in that moment, and it was like I had this job, this opportunity. I was super grateful, super super grateful, and it was corporate philanthropy, and it takes me back, and I went that route. But then 2020 hits, like my mom passes in 2019. I move, I'm getting situated, I travel a little bit, I cry, I do everything that you do that you think's getting out. You think the world just can't get any worse for a little bit, but you're proud because you're keeping one foot in front of the other.
Right.
Oh no, I had no idea I was cooking up. I didn't know the COVID was coming. I didn't know so much, but I was grounded. I was, and so in that moment, I still had my corporate job, but I was right there with that routine. In 2020, like next thing you know, it, I start thrifting. That's something I was always doing. I was always known as for my style. I would come back from overseas. My teammates were like, or my friends or people like open the bag, want to see what I got. Like I was always putting it on, as the kids say. And then but I was known for that. I was always stylish, but not a stylist. I didn't know where to put it all. I initially went to TCU and declared fashion merchandising as my major, got a semester in. So this is how I kind of got back to styling. I declared that as my major. Then I decided I cannot connect. This is not what I thought it'd be like. I didn't know if it was lack of representation. I don't know what it was, but the disconnect was there. And like I mentioned, I have to be filled. So I'm like, well, I kind of like sideline reporting and broadcasting, and I've been told that I'm not bad at it, and things. And so, but I really love style. I was just as happy to tell everyone I was going to TCU for styling, for styling. And as I was for fashion merchandising, as I was to play basketball. But then I was like, but then I could just wear cute outfits on the field, and that can be
Right.
my thing. And so it's full circle, man. It's so crazy, like to say all of this, but in those moments where I was tapping back in 2020, that's when I had a vision, and I realized like God had been giving me the keys, the plays, and everything. And but I was working for someone else, and wasn't in the position to just do this. So all I was doing was thrifting and making reels and having fun and discovering talents and just doing things that you do in quarantine, everything because you got time. And but then I started getting inquiries, and then I started, so I just put like a format around it, like I'd already the nonprofit organization I was working for was a startup. So I got to see it was a global nonprofit, so I'm getting exposure and getting to sit at rooms where, oh, this is how this works, and I was doing it for someone else's, but I thought God was I was going to go hard for this organization, still would, but it was like, I'm getting the place to see how companies and how things go, from a high level. And I didn't know any other way, and so then, as we went into it, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to create my own vision because I have more time. I'm not in these streets, like as far as doing what I was supposed to be doing with the nonprofit. We hadn't launched yet.
Right. Yeah, man.
Okay, we're here. I was like,
I was like, wait a minute.
did
Why?
it vanish?
Yeah, it did. It's technology, man. It's supposed to be the future, but is it the future?
It might still be. It just messes up sometimes. Nothing's perfect, I guess. But
Mhm.
now I think I was just wrapping up and bringing how I got to Style by Studio 33 and trying to bring that part of my story. I think with you asking that, you wouldn't be the only one. I haven't had the chance, to really sit and tell this story. I've just really put it through my work, and through my projects have been intentional. And I knew eventually we'd get here, and so to just kind of pour back how I use basketball and fashion, how they were parallel to each other, the journeys, not knowing this is where it would lead. um in that time, in 2020, that's when I started putting a frame around my vision. What would I call it? What would I, and I started getting on webinars and
Mhm.
free webinars and just trying to learn everything that I could. I'm in Dallas at the time with a good group of creative friends around me, from photographers, from other stylists, that are pouring into me, that I'm shadowing, or just following and seeing what I connect to. And just having a place to put all of that. And so once I realized what I had going on, and then what was going on too, more importantly, what was going on in the world, like I had, as much as I love TCU, there wasn't a lot of me's running around. There wasn't a lot of representation, and things like, even though it was all love, I know how important it needs to be more than just love, and I know the difference. And so I was like, wow, um I got to stand up, not just for my school, but for myself and for my town. Like, there's nobody out here that can love me and not the rest of the Black community. So this is where I had to stand on business. And when I stood on business, that's when I knew I had to start one, because not everyone is moving like that, and I'm still in this vulnerable state to where I don't want to lose sight of myself. I want to stay connected to my mother's spirit. I've been praying to God way too much for me to like not trust what's in me and what's being aligned. And so there was a lot of hard times in that kind of like led me to it, because it wasn't easy to do it and stuff of that nature, but it was at the same time, and necessary. And so Studio 33, like my vision for it and what it was is like to do something that I didn't get the opportunity. I was the face of a program when I was there, but I also, and we'd have life skills week, and Mary Kay would come in and tell it. And I'm like, okay, this is cool and all. And they told me I was going to love this section, because we're going to get media training and then we're going to get to go like this. But I'm like, how are you going to tell me how to do me when you don't look like me,
Mhm.
And so I was having these ideas how it would be really cool to go back one day and do it this way, So that was for Studio 33, the same way that I would go back and create camps and give these opportunities to the kids and stuff. Is the same thing I wanted to do creatively with Studio 33. I wanted to go with studio because in the studio, you say, I'm going to the studio. You don't know if you're going to record a song these days. You don't know if you're going to shoot, if you're going to model, what side of the camera you're going to be on. It's just the language and so many things under the umbrella of that.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm going to hang on to women's basketball because I'm seeing the importance and where it's going ahead because I'm always tapped in, right?
Agreed.
I'm more of an observer. So I'm like, NIL's coming. If this is true, it's just so, but I was searching it and I was like, it's very important for these girls to know the importance of like being a brand within a brand, And so I designed a project that I did with TCU initially, and it
Mhm.
was there was their media day, And so with my team with Studio 33, by this time it developed some, but I brought a team in from Studio 33. I hired photographers, videographers, and cool people I wanted to, not to say there weren't cool people on campus, but it was not for creatives, it was like,
Okay.
it was different, and so I brought in like Black makeup artists, and things of that nature, just so that we could connect. But it wasn't just like, hey, I'm bringing in like this, like what I pitched, going back and forth with the coaches. I was very grateful that they had been following, and at the time I was even practicing. I still had it in me a little bit more, and I was practicing, so I'm connected with them. But when we did the project, I filled out questionnaires. I wanted them to tap in and get to know themselves. Okay, this is the project. I really want you to know the importance of being yourself so that you can connect to brands that are for you, and increase your value while you're in the sport, because you'll never have all these resources again. And that's how you hold your value after the sport. That sounds really cool, but there's so much that goes into that. Mental health prevention, direction, a community, and things of that nature, intention. You don't people get nervous during that last semester. What am I going to do? Who am I? And things of that nature. So it was with intention to kind of introduce it soft, but also like, I'm coming, And so I was telling them just the importance of that. On the questionnaire was like, what is your favorite occasion to get dressed for? Don't be shy if it's the club, like, let me tap in and get to know yourselves. And they had to fill it out. And what are your pronouns? I'm still learning all of these, but I'm making sure I'm with the times, with the language, choose 5 styles that best represent you. And so I gave them a list, and me and my team put them together. And it's like vintage tees, edgy, tomboy chic, like bodycon dresses, just choose 5 styles that best. Now we're like, okay. And in my head, the way it works, that's a whole nother podcast, but I'm able to just kind of like put stuff together, and see them and really see people, and really like, I really like stand on, Nipsey said it best, and I don't know who said it first, but it's not what's in you, it's what's on you, so this was my way of like getting them to go within before we put it on. Let's get in, go in. And they had so much fun doing it, and I wanted to also give them an experience like, I don't care what anybody says. And if this isn't like, you're professionals, like when you make it to that level, it is harder, to be a D1 athlete, as it is, a professional athlete these days. I don't know about these days, but for me, it was like, we didn't get enough credit or exposure, or the standard or the bar wasn't set high enough for everyone to like really respect us, so I wanted to really show them and see them where I feel like that's where they need to set the bar, so when we come in, I'm like, you're working with a professional team. And so choose one song. One thing on there is that choose one song that you can listen to on repeat while you get ready. So they choose their song. Then I came back, and after I reviewed these, we put together looks. I even had them list who that inspires them to be a better person on Instagram, so I can kind of see like who they follow, but then also list the Instagram account that wants to, like makes you want to be a better dresser or something. So I can kind of get a vibe for them. So when they came in for their mini consultations, which, I never had that experience, but it was an idea that came to fruition and it went well, so they walk in for their consultation wanting to hear their outfits, but I had that song playing for them just to kind of get them loose, whether it was Megan the Stallion or whether it was, whoever it was able to get loose. And so by the time we did the shoot, they were ready. They got to see the order for the day of just like getting their makeup done, getting styled, making sure the wardrobe assistants, getting to see how teams work together that aren't just on the court, to see a lot of them. Now I want to be a stylist. I want to work for that. I never knew this happened. I didn't either. I'm making it up. Just keep going with it and keep loving it. And so and just to be able to do that, it went really well. Those pictures went like on the posters, of the clothes that I had to find. It was a little tough on me with a $0 clothing budget, and I was like, and I hate to put that out there, but I was like, it was so necessary. I needed, and there, but also this hasn't been done, so I had to kind of take L's where I could, but I'm like, but I'm a magnificent thrifter, and so I had to go in and get real creative with looks. All of them had to have an element of purple to it, to tie on to just everything, but we did that, and it won a National Marketing Media Award, and it
Okay.
and I was like, I'm here. Yes. And so that was like something that I was like, okay, this is working, it was all a trial. And then next thing you know, it rinse and repeat. I got the opportunity again to do that with LSU the year that they had won. I didn't know they were going to win that year, but it doesn't surprise me, and just things would keep aligning like that, and like, we could go on, I know there's, when we did it with LSU, like I mentioned, I was like, okay, this is going there. And in between the time I did it with at TCU and LSU, I've done a lot of things in between and made a lot of contacts to where people that are makeup artists that work like often in the space for women's basketball and things. So I'm able to pull in art, like Sharon, she's had the experience, and she was out in Atlanta, so she was able to fly in. Donnie, who works heavily with women's basketball, always, whether it's Adidas, whether it's commercials, whether it's Ari and Lex Brown, she's just nonstop working in women's basketball. Hired her to come in. Another celebrity stylist, that someone's like that we call each other style sis, Amadi, she's working and styling with Sydney Colson and LaChina at the time. I was like, it makes sense for you to come and style assist for me because I want them to see us and I want y'all to see this, as well. And so we were able to do that with LSU. We had a concept. I wanted it to be editorial, like, I had no idea that Flage was going to go to LSU.
Uh-huh.
And that she's someone that I was watching because I was like, that's idea. She's doing music, she's doing basketball, not just fashion. She's someone that had, like she's just someone that's going to need someone like me in my head, that's the vision. Then when she goes to LSU, I said, okay, God, all right,
We got to do this again in person, man. I'm happy. Like this, done made my day right here. For real, man.
good, Jeremy, good. Because listen, I can talk a monkey out of a banana tree, okay? I can go. So
Hey,
you just let me know, and I love to talk about it. I'm trying to find more light, but
um,
I
before
love
we
to talk
close,
about it. Like I love connecting. I love people that like to listen. I want to listen, and hear what you got going on. See how we can continue to like mutually support and benefit.
I would say, do you have any questions for me before we do close? Don't worry about this
Yeah.
time either if you can see it.
Huh?
Don't worry about this time either if you can see it. Don't worry about
Yeah, he's rolling.
it.
It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
surprise me. Yeah, for you, I would say, like, I was curious because I was just genuinely excited that you're doing this platform, and that you had it going. I was watching some of your interviews, very impressed with the people you've interviewed so far, and just seeing people that are really out there going for it. I think it's very important that you do this more, and or just continue to do it. It's very genuine and safe. And I hope you do get that interview with Tasha Cloud. I'll say
I'm
that.
trying to look. I have
Yeah.
talked to her. I talked to her back in October. Then she was like, "Get back
Mhm.
with me." I got back with her. So I'm kind of waiting on her to get back with me so I can go ahead and
Yeah.
set everything up and trying to.
Very genuine, and it'll be good. And that's one of the things too that I'd seen. I was like, you got to put it out there, in order for it to come. So for you, I guess like what piqued your interest, like for women's basketball? What was your angle to come in on what you do?
The
Your
biggest thing
connections.
is I interview a lot of men and women already in
Mhm.
different professions, and the biggest thing I was getting asked from friends, family, and then like my friend grew up like we like watching women's basketball, and we was always like, man. So before any of the time, like people don't support them or this one. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm the person that got a podcast. Why ain't I trying to interview? Because I'm
Yeah.
like, nobody's interviewing like Natasha. I
Yeah.
see how she's outspoken about activism
Mhm.
and all the different things, even how she's a hooper. But it's to me, it's beyond the name. It's
It's
like
beyond.
I'm
It's
looking at the
beyond.
person. I'm like, she's a great person. I'm telling my wife, then I'm telling my friends. And once I did the editing for it, my boy was like, she gonna say something back to this, bro, because
Mhm.
nobody want to talk to her. Like nobody,
Yeah.
anybody a big name podcast, they ain't even. I'm not seeing it. So I'm saying, why
Yeah.
can't I do it? So
Yeah,
definitely,
and you know what? Maybe she don't want to talk to them.
yeah.
Who
Hey,
knows?
hey,
But whatever the case, her voice needs to be out there.
mhm.
Very genuine. Like a lot of the things that she's done, even before getting to meet her personally, I've always been inspired by her using her voice. It's very important, and it does open doors, and it does empower and encourage us, not just the youth, but it's like you mentioned, your friend, your wives, like you're connecting to people, and that's what it's about. So I love to hear you say that.
Mhm.
And then also too curious to know what city you're in the East Coast.
Oh yeah, so I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm in Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm in Atlanta. I'm
So
from
do
South
you
Georgia, and
okay,
came up here to go
cool.
to college. So yeah.
Okay, I got to shout out Atlanta Dream. They're my first WNBA team that I got to work for with Studio 33. It was literally a dream to go there and do their media day this year. And then also to just have Ryan Howard, got to shout her out because I didn't see her play
I
before
saw her.
I, huh?
I saw her, man. We got to actually go to a game. So I was like, wow, she's amazing.
She's good. She's good. Gosh, I'm excited and young. So
Yes,
shout
indeed.
out to Atlanta.
So yeah,
Yeah.
with that being said, I said, where are you located?
I'm in Portland. I'm new in Portland. I'm 3 weeks in here,
Okay.
and still like getting my footing. Like this is a place where I came in May with
Mhm.
intention, and then with intention and scout. And I knew I'd be here by January, but God said, "Hey, a little sooner." So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm in Portland though.
So yeah, thank you for this though. Definitely, it means a lot. I said to myself when I got it and everything, I did all my research. I was like, I
Hmm.
like her. I was like, this is a
Oh,
good
that's cool.
man. And even when I did a notebook thing, I had 2 episodes today, and the guy literally told me, he was like, I like what you're doing, bro. Like I was like,
Yeah, that's what I'll say. I don't have a question, but I will say like that was very for me. Like I love seeing like you writing out the questions and I will even show you. I had things, believe it or not, I didn't look at this one time, you
uh,
know, but I had lists of things or answers or people I wanted to bring up. I just wanted to make sure it was in so when it came out. But I'm not here to tell my life story. I'm just here to like touch base and continue to watch us grow and go from here, and then just see it all come together,
Yes, indeed. But thank you for your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day, great holiday season, and I'll be dropping a snippet tonight, and then later on I'll be dropping a full episode. But we're gonna stay in touch. Definitely gonna be on
Absolutely.
you. Definitely.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Jeremy. You have a great night.
You too.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye bye.